I'm Paul, the Happy Gilder. Welcome to my channel. In this video I'm going to be covering the technique of blending enamel paints to create nice sort of soft gradients. So the piece I'm going to be working on is this one here. So what I did to prep this piece of glass is sandblasted off the back coating into certain areas where the design is. Then I applied animal skin glue that creates the glue chipping. And there's videos on both of these processes that I've made before this, and I'll put a link in the description, and there's a link up here as well. So there's quite a few different ways of creating blends, and in this video I'm only going to cover one. And it's not that this one is better than any others or that I prefer it to any others, it's just that this particular one is more suitable to the job that I'm going to be doing here. With this piece in particular, there hasn't been any painting done yet, so there's decisions to be made in which order you do things. And those decisions will affect the different type of techniques that you use. So for example, if I'd applied all of the gold leaf and done all of the painting and the only thing left was this big panel here, I could be very loose with how I blended the enamels. Could use a big kind of 2-inch brush and paste them on there and really kind of, blend them together as you'd expect to, with a big brush quite haphazardly. But what I want to do is paint these kind of intricate bits here where the scrolls are kind of curled around. I want a different colour for the back of the scroll to the front, and I want nice kind of gradients where they would be, where you'd get a natural shadow where the folds are coming up to a kind of soft, more sort of brighter version of that colour. What I'm going to do there is have the colour coming from dark up to its natural colour, and then on the front I'm going to have the natural colour going into a kind of paler version of itself in the middle of these letters. So the stuff that I need to do this is a very small palette. It could be anything, but it's best if you've got something that has got edges so that you don't end up spreading the paint out. This is just because it will dry quite quickly. If you decide to mix it on a plate and then you kind of add an extra bit of colour, mix it, every time you do that, that becomes tackier and tackier. But if you can fill something that's quite small with a kind of shallow puddle of it, then it takes a lot longer to kind of set and go thick. Paint brushes, the paints that you're going to be using, and a bit of paint thinner as well. Just in case it does start to get tacky, you can then just put a couple of drops in there, thin it out, and that'll be a lot easier to apply. Won't affect any of the colours, but it will just make it a bit thinner for you to paint onto the back of the glass. So I'm going to change the camera angle and just get cracking on with it. So I'll start with the technique before moving on to doing it on the actual piece. So what I kind of want to do is just start by getting a little bit of the colour that I'm going to be using, which is this green. Pop a little bit of that into the palette. So the first thing is just the neat paint in there. Just get a tiny bit of that, and just do a kind of nice thin single stroke. We want the shading to start. What we do then is just add the tiniest little bit of either black or white to this mix, and then just continue in that vein, just applying tiny little lines underneath each one. So, and I mean the tiniest dot of black. Black is much stronger than white when it comes to mixing with the paint, so it's best to kind of use the minimal amount, because you get a much stronger sort of variation between two tones with just the tiniest pinprick of black. And that's basically it. Just very small, thin strokes, tiniest little bit of black or white. You can add more if you want a kind of quite obvious gradient, but you will kind of see the stripes in it. So that's the technique I'm going to be using, so I'm going to move on and do that on the actual piece now. And that's just one of many brush blending techniques. I'm going to be covering different ones in upcoming videos. Things that are a bit looser that you can use a larger brush for, mixing your paints with things like paint thinner and oils to make them go on a lot easier, as well as things like finger blending and sponge blending. But for now, that's quite a nice one to get started with because it's not very messy and it's quite contained in a small space. So I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please subscribe to the channel and click the little thumbs up icon, and please share it with anyone else who you think might enjoy it. So till next time, cheers.